can't see it today, but we're talking about everything fertility, and I'm really excited to have Marline Duroseau here and share her energy on how we can all live a more fertile life and going through the fertility struggles. The book you wrote was It'll Happen by 30, A Relentless Journey of Faith, Delayed but Not Denied. Oh, yes. And we're going to put a link also on our YouTube, Instagram, and all that other stuff. But I got Instagram in my little way of just kind of watching for my cameras, and then, but we're going to get some people also on our YouTube channel. So, Marline, how you doing today?
I am doing fantastic, and I'm just totally honored and humbled and blessed to be on with you this morning.
Well, I feel the very same way, that we're both sharing this together. And, you know, the journey that we're all on trying to figure out this fertility stuff is just not always easy to go through. Would you agree?
I do. Not only is it not easy, it's a very unknowing and daunting experience too, because you don't know what you're going to get into. And then once you start to get into it, it's daunting because you're like, OMG, I didn't, foresee that, or what do I do in this instance? So you feel a little unprepared. And I think that's where a lot of the fear comes in.
And where our brain is sort of focused on fear in so many ways. Right. And how do we sort of get beyond the fear in this? And we're going to talk about that. But first, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this fertility journey.
Okay, I'm Marline Duroseau. Duroseau, however you pronounce it, is perfectly fine. I am a Florida native. I was born and raised in Miami, Florida. My parents are Haitian immigrants, and they immigrated here back in the 70s. And they had myself, my brother. I had a few more siblings immigrate from Haiti as I got a little older. So I think that's really important for me to mention the Haitian descent, because what we're finding now is so many people of island, Caribbean, Haitian, however we want to call it, descent, they delay searching help or getting help for fertility issues because it's so taboo in our community, not only here in America, just everywhere. And so it's really important that I mention my Haitian background, because it's just more of an inspiration and motivation for more people like me as well to seek help, in addition to women in general. So born in Miami, Florida, raised, I love Florida. It's sunny. We had a little bit of a cold snap last week, and I was like, what is this? I am not used to that. So by trade, I am a CFO. I'm a licensed CPA. I've been in healthcare for 20 years. I am the back office accounting company for nursing homes in Florida. So I am a very established professional woman as well. In finance and management and leadership. And in addition to that, I found myself on a fertility journey, and I am a fertility warrior turned fertility advocate. So that's how I kind of got into a little bit after the struggle of starting a family of my own.
Tell us a little bit about your fertility journey. Would you mind sharing that?
Yes. My husband and I, we got married. I was young, and ideally, I didn't start off to want to have kids right away, but I always knew I wanted a lot of children. As a matter of fact, when I was younger, I said, I'm going to have 10 kids. Obviously, as I got older, that number diminished. I can't handle 10 children, right? So God bless those that have them. So I've always wanted a large family, because I come from a large family. My husband comes from a large family. There's a lot of us. So I just always loved that idea of having a large family. And so I always knew I wanted to be a mom. And after getting married, let me back up a little bit. My husband, when I met him, he had a little boy. His name is Richard. I call him my baby that didn't give me any bonus pains. His father and I have been together, right? He didn't give me any labor pains, I should say. And he's basically been with me since before he turned 2. So that's my baby. That's my big baby, right? So I never put in my head that there would be a fertility issue, because in my brain, my husband had a child, it's fine. So we got married, and we just did everything else, school, bought a house, took vacations, etc. But when I was young, maybe 22, 23, because my husband had a child and we never really had any oops moments or any pregnancies, I said, let's go and get checked out. just in case, you never know, maybe there's an issue. So I remember going into the office, and there was this young nurse that was there, and she said, well, why are you guys in here? You're so young. Just keep trying and having fun. It'll happen. And I said, you know what? No, I think it's important that I get checked out, because what's going to happen is I'm going to wait and wait and wait. And then when I'm 38, 39, 41, what you guys are going to tell me is, why'd you wait so long? Why didn't you come and get checked out, earlier? So she said, I never thought about it like that. So let's run some tests on you. So pretty much there wasn't really any main issues. We had PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. So I was diagnosed with that, and my husband had a little bit of male factor, but it wasn't anything to basically prohibit us from starting a family when we were ready, right? So, fast forward a few years, it didn't happen, but I wasn't really stressed. I just said, oh, I'm young, I'm in my 20s. Maybe by the time we're 30, it'll happen. So hence the name of the book. But, we just went on, all those years went by, and Dr. Kiltz, it just never happened. And at that point, we tried different approaches, such as IUI. We did IUI with Clomid, which is intrauterine insemination. Right. We did IUI with Clomid. We did 3 rounds of that. Then we graduated to another 2 rounds of IUI, but with injectables. And that was not a success. And then we ended up going the IVF route, which I felt was, the gradual next step for us. And needless to say, we were successful. I was very afraid, but we were successful with the first IVF round. But then, unfortunately, we lost the pregnancy at 22 weeks and 1 day. We had a daughter. Her name was Angel. So we lost her at 22 weeks. So that was just devastating, if I can say anything else, because to wait for so long, because by now I'm 30. Wow, so okay. Yes, it did happen for us at 30, but didn't expect for her to be taken away at 30 either. Right. So it was very, very difficult, and just navigating, what to do, who do I talk to, why did this happen, how can this happen? And that's when I ended up finding out, as a result of losing Angel, that I also had something called incompetent cervix. And I know in the medical industry, they're trying to change the name to, I think it's cervical insufficiency now, because that word incompetent, it just takes you for a loop, because, when you're the one that's the woman and you're trying to get pregnant and somebody terms something that you have incompetent, it doesn't help with your psyche as well, because I can't, control my cervix, right?
And it's all psychological. It's all in the mind that we're really driving this whole journey in so many ways. Exactly.
So when those play on words are important, which is another reason why it's important to me to bring awareness out there, so that, women can feel empowered and feel very strong and confident about what they're doing on their journey. You may not get all of the news that you want. You may not get all of the answers that you need right away, but you want to have that mental right in terms of confidence and feeling empowered to ask questions, seek help, and move on, meaning switch providers if you have to, because if you're not confident in what's going on and you're having doubt, that mental aspect really takes a toll as well, right? At
the time, so were you getting answers to the why these things were happening at this stage, or is it still really, you've got to do the searching and figure this out?
To be honest with you, I didn't really get a lot of answers to why. Do you know why? Because no one knew. Incompetent cervix, as much as I started to find out that more people suffered from it, there was still not enough research or not enough resources or just information available, so that, our doctor as fertility patients, our backup doctor is Dr. Google, right? So all of us, it's so bad. We try not to do it. We're told not to do it, but we always go to Google,
Well, it's interesting. So when I went to medical school, so I had to get into medical school to get the access to the libraries for the knowledge that was kind of locked up. But right. Dr. Google is the knowledge is free and open to everyone. The problem is, I think the medical community kind of wants to coddle it and make it ours, and like, well, we'll dish it out appropriately, but it belongs to everyone, and that's the beauty of Dr. Google, in my opinion.
And that's the thing, because exactly what you just said, the medical community, you want to hold on to it and kind of release it in piecemeal. And guess what? It was a wonderful thing, because there was information from a textbook standpoint. There was information out there, but to the lay person or the patient who's trying to find, answers as it relates specifically to their issue, it was a little difficult. And I had to say, okay, Dr. Google, I'm going to have to put you to the side, because when I did find other information, meaning patients maybe that experienced the same thing, the information was outdated, right? It was outdated, or they maybe had a slightly different, background or issue, meaning underlying background issue with fertility than I did. So you basically had to take Dr. Google with a grain of salt, because yes, there was a lot of information out there, but it may not have directly correlated to your particular issue.
Yet there are many more people like yourself who are warriors in the sense of wanting to help those suffering, and you have experiential information, which maybe is better than the science, which may be more biased to a message of either selling a drug, a procedure, a dissection, or come to me, rather than sort of completely unbiased.
Absolutely. And I know I'm swaying a little bit off the question, but I'll get back to it. And that's one of the reasons why it's important to me, where now my fertility journey is over. And I said, there has to be a reason why I went through this, to be able to help other people, because there's something in what you just said, and you hit the nail on the head with having to be able to speak with someone that has gone through it and can also relate and understand and give their experience as a way to help others or inspire others, or just at least put you on the right path, I think goes a long way. Because, whenever you're reading and everything is black and white, but unfortunately in life, obviously nothing is black and white, right? So back to the question, there wasn't a lot of information that I was able to obtain, because a lot of people didn't know what happened. I basically had no, in speaking with my medical team, I had no family history of incompetent cervix. I know they were saying that for the baby boomers back in their day, which my mom is a baby boomer, there was a particular medication that if they had nausea back then, if they took it, then maybe that might have been the cause of incompetent cervix in their children. But my mom never took the medication. I was blessed like her. I had no nausea. I never had morning sickness or anything. So
DES was the drug.
Yes.
My sense of incompetent cervix is the same cause of PCOS, tubal damage, fibroids, endometriosis. It's all the same cause. It's the damage of inflammation damages our tissue. It weakens it. It's like a bad a slipped disc. It's a damaged tissue, connective tissue, which is the biggest problem. And I espouse it always to the diet. We are eating a diet that's deadly for human beings.
And I agree with you. And I haven't done extensive research on, diet and what's good and things of that nature. However, during my fertility journey, my doctor, as well as my acupuncturist, and I had some yoga instructors, one of the things that all three of them always focused on was minimizing the amount of inflammation in my body. And my acupuncturist, she was fanatical. Like, okay, nope, your tongue is wet. Nope, inflammation, or this is slippery, or that. So there is something to say about the inflammation, because I will tell you, Dr. Kiltz, what I'm finding, and I don't want to put it out there because obviously I'm not a medical expert, is a lot of the women who I'm running across that have also had incompetent cervix has some sort of hormonal inflammation-ish hormonal issue, PCOS, endometriosis, something hormonal that's causing things to be out of balance, right? And they are likely also, not are likely, but they also have shown symptoms of incompetent cervix. That's what I'm finding. So I'm sure the medical science will continue to research that, you know?
Well, think about it. The uterus sits in the pelvis. The pelvis is where the colon is. The colon is full of fermenting plants. Plants are sugar. They contain hormonal endocrine disruptors. Heat, gas, alcohol, aldehydes, and methane damage the tissue. And so what we don't realize, is I call it Occam's razor. The simple answer is the one. We eat a high plant-based, low animal fat diet, and we eat 3 to 6 meals a day. That's how we've all been trained to do. But that training has caused all our diseases. They're all related, in my opinion, plant-based, low animal fat diet.
Right. And there's just something to say about that, because because literally that, after losing the baby, had to go through a full delivery, labor, pushed her out, the whole 9 yards. And because I was already 22 weeks along, so I was showing, I was big, the baby was big. And to think about how literally you're walking around and your cervix is just open, and it's mind-boggling, right? And to not know why it happened, that put even more fear in me on what decision do we take next? What do we do? Because they put in a emergency cerclage, and I know it was done in an emergent situation. So what they explained is, knowing that we have this particular diagnosis now, with the next pregnancy, we would do a cerclage preemptively, early in the pregnancy versus waiting for an emergency situation. But even then, I'm still unsettled, right? Because, and it goes back to what you and I talked about being mentally, strong, because going into it with fear, not knowing if you'll be able to carry your next pregnancy to term, is very difficult. And remember, in my case, I needed IVF to get pregnant. So now we have to talk about going through the process again, spending more money. Is it going to work? Right? So I still have that infertility aspect conditioned now, and coupled with, after I beat the infertility, or seemingly beat it by getting pregnant, am I able to keep the pregnancy? So that it was a really, really difficult time, for us. And, we ended up trying again. And on our second round, we got pregnant again with the twins. And just as the doctors planned, we had an cerclage put in. Yes. Early. We had it put in at 12 weeks with the twins. And I had a basically perfectly normal pregnancy. I didn't do much. I wasn't on bed rest, but I wasn't running around either. I was in my office doing my work. Not a problem. Didn't really go out much. And one day I just didn't feel well. And back to square one again at that same 22 weeks, the same amount of time that I lost our daughter. I started to nothing hurt, but I just didn't feel well. But long story short, Dr. Kiltz, we ended up having the twins at 26 weeks. So this is another part of the journey, which of course we didn't plan for, the NICU, because now I'm afraid. They're 26 weeks. They're only a pound or so each. Are they going to survive? So thank goodness they made it. They had a 4-month NICU stay. But that's a whole nother leg of the journey in itself, the NICU and prematurity, early babies, things like that. And so we ended up having the twins. So now the decision to whether or not I want to have another baby, knowing everything that I've gone through. And in my brain, I was done. I was done. I was too afraid. I had my boys. I'm done. Not a problem. So, my husband wanted us to try for one again. And fast forward a few years, when the kids were about 3, I did some research and found Dr. Google on probably page 3 of the search, right? Page 3 of the search, which no one goes past page 1 of the Google search.
That's true.
So I ended up finding out about a procedure called a transabdominal cerclage, and it's a little bit more invasive of a cervical. It's a cervical abdominal cerclage, but it's placed higher in the
it's the internal os rather than lower on the cervix. So it's does much more successful.
Correct. But back when I did it, which was a few years ago, it was still controversial. And me being a person that wants to do research, I met with my first set of OBGYNs. I met with my MFM, the maternal fetal medicine doctor, the high-risk doctor that saw my twin pregnancy. I met with him. I met with my IVF doctors, and I met with the 3 specialists of the transabdominal cerclage. One was in Chicago, West Palm Beach, and another one in Miami, just to make sure I had all of my information and ducks in a row before I got this major surgery. And that kind of sort of was the end of our journey. I was able to have the surgery. I have my little boy, the little one, he's 4 now. He's our last baby, and I carried him to term, basically a scheduled C-section at 38 weeks and 1 day. And he was perfect, and I had no issues at all, so to speak, right? None of those type of issues in the pregnancy. So to go from being afraid, 1, not being able to get pregnant, to getting pregnant and losing the baby, to then trying to have the another pregnancy, got pregnant, they were preemies, not sure what the cervix is going to do, to have a textbook pregnancy at the end. And that, I'm going to tell you, is what basically drove me to publish everything that I had been writing, because I said the ending to this story, everybody's story ending is different, right? But hopefully the way mine turned out, just being persistent, keeping the faith and going along with it, hopefully that would be able to help someone else. And that's why I ended up getting the book done, because I originally never set out to write the book. A quick little tidbit, I remember when I was younger, I just loved to write anyway. And one of my family, I said, oh, I want to write a story about my life. And one of my family members, just jokingly, I was a little girl, said, you haven't lived long enough to have a life story that you want to write about. So, but because I love to write anyway, I always had journals, always wrote everything down. And after having lost our daughter, Dr. Kiltz, I didn't know what to do. I felt like I was a bother to my family and friends. I have a great doctor and I could call him anytime, but I felt guilty to call him because I know the doctors are busy. So I can't, keep them busy all this time. So one of the ways that I dealt with the grief was journaling. I journaled and journaled. And by the time I had my last baby and I looked back to my journals, they were over 30,000 words. So wow. I was able to, meet up with a publisher, and she said, no, you basically already have the meat of the books. I just thought about it more. I got through COVID and I said, oh no, this is going to be my push to do it, because we survived COVID, which COVID is still not over, but it just, everything lined up for me to say, let me go ahead and put this out there, because it would definitely be able to help someone else.
Who is it for, do you think?
This book is for a multitude of people. That's a great question. The book is for young women or couples who are looking to start a family, so that, as to not scare them, but kind of let them know what may happen or what you have to look forward to. Because I'm going to tell you, when I started this journey, my expectation, although I was afraid, obviously, my expectation was to have a child. Like, you don't think that it's not going to happen for you, because why? That's why you go to the doctor. When you're sick, you go because you're expecting to get better. You're expecting a solution. So everything that I went through, I never expected that. No one prepared me for that, right? And so I think that young couples who are looking to start a family, I think this book would benefit them. People who maybe have already suffered a loss, because after you suffer a loss, that's when you really become friends with Dr. Google. You're on the computer and you're searching and is this normal? Why did it happen to me? Did anybody else have this? What did they do? So if anyone has suffered a loss or just been trying and it hasn't happened yet, if you're on your fertility journey, so if you've suffered a loss or you're currently on your fertility journey, this book is for you. And lastly, my third group of people that I think this book is for, Dr. Kiltz, is people who want to know how to help people who they know are going through infertility, because I want to help create appropriate and true friends of infertility. Because a lot of times, because we don't know what to do, our friends and family don't know how to help us either. So right. I have a lot of pointers in the book, at least from my perspective, of not necessarily things not to do, because I don't think people do things on purpose to hurt you once you've gone through or going through it. They just don't know any better. So it'll be okay. These are some tips of what you can do to help someone if you know and find out that they've either had a loss or they're going through it. Because, you know, another thing is a lot of people don't know what to do because many people don't talk about it. So many family and friends don't know that they have a loved one that's suffering. But in the event you do find out, and when you find out, you know, this is what they're going through, you know, this is how you can help them. So to answer your question, you know, people who are looking to start a family, that's one group of folks. People who have either suffered a loss, like they're on their journey, or they're suffered a loss. And then the next group are friends to infertility.
You've gone through so much. You mentioned early on in the conversation about women coming from Haiti, the islands, and how they're suffering and either don't have, they don't know that they've got a problem, or
Right.
what do you think is going on, the why part of it, and what can be done to improve both the knowledge and the access?
It's a really big deal. When I came home after losing the baby, and I'm gonna tell you too, I was afraid in the marriage that the family would start, both sides. I thought that people would start giving us a hard time, like, why aren't you pregnant yet? Why aren't you pregnant yet? Right? Because you get married, they expect you to have a child, right? I think I never really got that. We never got that because one, my husband had a child. So with me, they knew I was always busy. This is what I'm presuming. So they just figured I wasn't ready yet. So we never got that pressure. Thank goodness. Okay. So let's start there. There's a lot of pressure, especially in the community, for you to just have kids. They want grandkids. The parents want grandkids. They want it done. So because everybody has that in the back of their brain, you know, it's a lot of pressure for the couples who are trying because they don't want to let their family down, right? And then the other side of that is in the culture, Dr. Kiltz, you're not supposed to tell anybody your business, right? So if people know that you have a problem, then that may look bad on the family, because now that means that people are going to know that my daughter is defective or my son has a problem. Like, it's embarrassing. Everybody keeps the way we're raised is to just keep you, what do they say? Keep your dirty laundry, don't air your dirty laundry or something like that, which I don't like that term, dirty laundry, but just for the sake of our example, because it's not dirty, it's your situation, right? But there's a big secret thing, like, oh, don't tell. Even my mom, who I can tell her anything, everything. Oh, well, don't let people know that you're doing IVF, because then they're gonna think you have money, because I don't know a lot about a lot, but IVF is expensive. So then they're gonna come to you for money because they're gonna think you have money. And I'm like, no, mom. So they're worried about, and then people don't need to know your business because, you know, it's like, it's just so taboo. I don't know why the culture is like that. A lot of the island folks are like that. So I think that by me being young, Haitian as well, and they see, oh, okay, it's no big deal. We can, okay, you can do it. I can do it too. I want to put my face out there to be able to have more people come in, because it's just a secret. People feel embarrassed. They feel ashamed. And, you know, they all also wonder about the financial aspect of it and how they're going to do it. So, you know, I met some people at a gala that I went to in July. And do you know, Dr. Kiltz, the man told me, oh my gosh, thank you so much for coming out here and saying that. But he's whispering. I'm like, why are we whispering? We're in the middle of a thing with 100 people. And he says, because although we're here, my daughter is 15. We had her via IVF. The family still doesn't know. They thought we were just on vacation. And so they tried different things. So till now, the child is 15. The family doesn't know they had IVF to have the baby.
Wow.
You know, but he's thanking me for bringing it out there and talking about it. So I think there's a need. And even my IVF doctor, he says, Mar, it's a good thing that at least a lot of the Haitian patients are coming in now. We're seeing more of them, which is great. But Mar, you really need to get out there, because they're coming in at least, but they're waiting too long, because then you get the talk of donor eggs. That blows their mind. or whatever other hormonal situations they have going on. So even the medical field is like, okay, we want to be able to help you. And, you never say never, because anything is possible on any day at any given time. But you want to maximize your chances, not minimize your chances by waiting too long.
So in general, we don't like to air the negatives about our lives, because we all want to put on an air if it's all okay in life, right?
Exactly.
You're saying everything's fine. We've got the perfect family, the perfect life. Everything's going to be fine. And how is the community changing, do you think? Or what are the things that we can do to improve that in our communities?
One of the things I feel that's changing the community is social media. Between WhatsApp and YouTube and now TikTok, the community has a lot of access. And even the older generation, like my parents' generation, it's like they're getting into getting their news and being updated and kept abreast on what's going on via YouTube, social media, things of that nature. And I think that's a big deal, because it kind of shows that, because when we were growing up, there was none of that. And they didn't believe in, you putting your business out there, or you even gossiping, right? By knowing other people's business. So the fact that they're a little bit more open to even being exposed to social media is a big deal, because it just shows the potential of them being able to be open to other ideas. So because of social media, you'll have more people like myself that are not afraid now to share your story, because you have to get to a point where you're okay with sharing your story. Like, I couldn't do this until I was ready, if that makes sense. So once the people are ready, just motivating them to share their story, and then other people in the community are seeing it, and they'll say, oh, by the way, I have a cousin that, look, I watched this young lady on YouTube, or I saw this person post this on WhatsApp. I think you should give it a try, or I think you should call them, or whatever the case may be. So just bringing awareness and talking about it more and more, normalizing the conversation and making it accessible to everyone in the community, in the islands, everywhere, even overseas, because a lot of in my clinic, my old clinic, a lot of patients from India are coming in, and my doctor was explaining that it was the same issue there, right? Because in India, they have a lot of children as well, and it's also taboo. What do you mean you can't get pregnant? You're not a good wife, all this other stuff, or whatever the beliefs are. Because the Haitians were just the same way. Oh no, she can't give you a child. Oh no, what are you doing with her? That's kind of like the stigma. So just being able to share stories and bring awareness with people who can relate, I think, is what will help and continue to help improve that particular situation.
So get evaluated early is good, because if you suspect there might be an issue, or you're waiting, even for those that think, oh, maybe in my mid-30s I'll start trying, maybe it's better to get checked younger, so you make sure there aren't any issues. Check your tubes, check your ovarian reserve, and if you're with your partner, check a sperm count. Those are things that you'd recommend in all this. And so would you, if you could go, would you blog socially earlier, do you think, based on what you know now?
I would. I just want to talk about it all day, every day. If I knew I could do this, or this would help back when I was 25, I would have done it, because, knowledge is power. And I know you don't know me personally as well, but I love to learn. I'm in school now. Everybody thinks I'm crazy. I'm in school for my doctorate, because I love learning. Like, I think when you know better, you do better. And I don't even like the phrase better. I feel, because better is more as if you purposely did something wrong. No, the more you know, the more you grow. And I look back at you sharing your story can be what somebody else needed to hear to help improve their life, or to help do something good for them, or to help get checked out, right? And I think that it's important. I would have definitely done it earlier, and again, back then I wasn't ready, right? So, and it's a little bit tricky, because now that I'm a little older, I'm 41, I can look back and say what I would have done at 25, 27. Right. So I know how I thought back then. So my next goal is to figure out how to penetrate that same type of message and approach in a current 25-year-old, 27-year-old, because they might not be there yet, right? So you want to try to, yes,
right.
Exactly.
You're giving the entry into the empowerment of your life at younger ages, and I think so. I call social media social medicine. It really is critical. You want to focus on the positive things, but sometimes you have to go through the hard things in order to get that knowledge of growth and creativity that you've been sharing here and in your books. And what's your passion about that next thing you want to? What's your doctorate going to be in?
You know, my doctorate is in organizational leadership. I feel that anything that you do, if you're not leading well or leading by example, it won't work. And even if it's something like this fertility advocacy that I'm on, I have to show up and lead in a way to where people who are going to get inspired or who need help will feel confident enough to trust me, to tell them, you know, hey, I think you should do this, right? I'm not an expert, but based on my experience, you should do that. And so, and I want to do my dissertation in something revolving around women, because I feel that we inherently hold a lot of power, but are not empowered or feel confident enough to go after whatever it is that we want to do. And I'm going to try to find a way to bridge the infertility aspect and experience that I have with my professional day-to-day 20-year career experience, which is women in leadership, having representation, knowing how to advocate for yourself, whether it's in the clinic or in the boardroom, right, or in corporate America. So the more you know, it's just about knowledge and learning. And that's what's important to me now, being able to help women feel confident. And let me tell you, Dr. Kiltz, even helping women be able to talk to their partners, because even with infertility, it's a little tricky, because sometimes us women, we get tunnel vision. Okay, this is what I want to do, but you need him on board, right? He's 50% of the equation. So you want to have confidence enough in yourself to be able to have that conversation without feeling ashamed, or that he would be ashamed, and empowering him to go and get checked out, like you said, because sometimes the men are half the issue too. Well, you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
It's always a sperm issue, always an egg issue, always an embryo, always an implantation. But it's a mindset. And the more you know, the more you grow. Lifetime learning is critical. If you're not failing at something, you're not doing enough things to get to the next level. You must be willing. And you went through failure and hardship to grow.
Right.
And so, but the mindset, maybe the mindset, we're making the changes, but it takes time. We'd all love to blow it up and make it happen. But ultimately, women are equally leaders as men are.
Right.
And I say more so in so many ways, because women lead the family and truly lead men. You know, I say women lead, men meander. We need and the strength of women. And again, maybe you lose the sense of your strength when you're infertile.
Right. Exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And there's no good, easy support out there. Number one, medicine doesn't help you. They're encouraging you not to have your children young. Just wait. And women who work to have their children younger, there's a comment here about women aren't encouraged to have children young. They're told to wait.
Right. It's true.
And if they have children young, maybe they're not respected as much.
It's definitely a double-edged sword. And even if you wait, then because remember, everyone has the will to make their own decision. Even if you wait, it goes back to what you and I were speaking about before. Get checked out first, because I'm going to tell you, you know, what your body is doing when you're in your 20s, like early 20s, will be different than when you're in your mid 20s, than when you're in your late 20s to early 30s, because at least you know. I think the conversation should be more, you know, from a financial aspect and a quality of life aspect. You know, if you want to wait, because by then, ideally, right, ultimately what the plan is, you would have gone through school, you would have gotten your life together, you get your immaturities out, you're a little bit more mentally, physically, financially capable of taking care of a child, whatever that means, whatever that looks like, right? No judgment. But your biological clock is ticking. So I think the other conversation that needs to happen, that goes back to what you were saying, yeah, okay, wait, but get those eggs frozen, get checked out early, so if you have an issue, so that when you do start trying, you're like, oh, based on my baseline, I had this issue, so this is how I'm going to approach it. So again, it goes back to being educated and not just waiting and doing nothing. And then one day you wake up and you're ready to do it and find out either you can't, or now you're on an uphill battle, and it just plays on your psyche even more.
So it's interesting, in medicine, we're kind of taught about problems.
Right.
It's a problem. And maybe we're not focused on the reality and understanding that there's ultimately a reproductive a goal for almost everyone in some way.
Right.
Or we need to make sure and think about that in adolescence, because that's first when you go to the gynecologist, but maybe even younger, as we understand more about the causes of disease, which is completely different than we've been taught, which, we're not taught about the cause, we're taught about, okay,
how to fix it.
Here's a pill, something like that. And it must be very challenging for everyone. And again, I'm on both sides of medicine. I'm a doctor and I'm a regular human being also that sees on both sides, but we're highly, I'm gonna use the word brainwashed. Here's the path, here's the answer, but we don't really see and know what everyone else is feeling, because we're focused on, okay, I've got to learn this in order to become this.
Right.
But when you become there, it becomes, you go, it's carousel. It goes in round and round and round, but you're not really getting to the heart of the matter. One is medicine. I mean, how much time do you have with the doctor to spend and talk to?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And they're in general, they're not very happy about your Google list you're bringing in, right? and so, my sense of, and that's why I'm here on social media, because I recognize that I can do more good for our community here than I can one-on-one with the patients I see, although I enjoy that immensely. It's important, but that's our challenge in life. So what's you're getting a doctorate in what was it again?
Leadership.
Which ultimately I'm wondering if most of us should really be trained in leadership,
right,
from a very young age.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if maybe the world is, we're taught in a competitive nature,
right,
not community nature.
Exactly. And and it's funny because not everyone can lead, but then actually everyone can lead. It's like it's double, right? Because even the way you lead yourself allows you to be able to find discernment, make better decisions. And even that starts from a young age, which is why I try to teach my boys and try to instill in them to be leaders as well. Like right now, if you want to use the term leader and follower, yes, when you're in school, technically you're a follower because your teacher is the leader, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But you're the leader of how you take hold and take account for you learning your education. That's why you're there, so it can go both ways. And I think starting early is very, very important. And it's funny you mentioned that, because one of the things that I also wanted to talk about briefly was, in addition to growing my platform and bringing awareness to infertility, I also serve as an ambassador for a nonprofit organization. You had the pleasure of meeting the CEO, Sandra Elidor, when we were at the South Florida Fertility Expo, and it's called Filling Empty Wombs. And there's many different programs that we're trying to put together with respect to, miscarriage support, infertility support, trying to help couples finance fertility treatments. That's something that we're also trying to raise funds for, because it's really expensive to pay for all of this stuff. And one of the other programs that we're trying to develop is the youth program, where we go into the schools and talk to the health department of the school, and just educating the parents and the young people on the importance of talking to the girls and the boys young about their reproductive health. Because that's another thing, especially in the island community. You start your menses, and they don't want you to talk about it, but yet they tell all your family, oh, she's a woman now, and you're so embarrassed. It's like a whole embarrassing situation. Or if you don't feel good, your parents come to pick you up. At least in my case, my dad picked me up every single month. His job already knew I had painful periods, something's going on. That's not normal. So as we're getting older and we're learning that even as a young age, you start to say, maybe this was like underlying and started like what you were saying. We need to work on trying to figure out the underlying issue before the problem exists, versus, okay, you have this problem, take this pill and hopefully it goes away. So filling empty wombs and my association with them is also important, because getting knowledge and just a basic understanding of what pains are normal, what's not normal, the type of flow, just whatever for the young age with the young people will also help too. So starting young on every aspect is very, very important.
The yin and the yang,
Yes.
you saw the leader and the follower, the problem, the solution, and really we're naturally competitive.
Yeah.
And how do we sort of really begin to foster the community of helping in a way that helps? Again, I say get back to the cause.
Yes.
Which ultimately I think is low self-esteem, fear of being wrong, of making a mistake. We're actually, those are just natural growing, learning experiences that we all go through.
Exactly.
And I think that's where leadership is to seeing the leadership potential in everyone.
Exactly.
And instilling the following is the apprentice. And
exactly. Exactly.
Changing the mindset and the language. That sounds like what you're really working on doing.
Absolutely. Because even and I know we're going a little off topic, but it's all important too, because I want to bridge fertility with the career workplace, because that affects women so much. Back to that decision of wait to have kids because you're trying to build your career, or do you have the kids and then it impedes your rise to the top, so to speak, how everyone explains it. But again, that's that give and take, that yin and yang. But even with my staff at work, the folks that work with me directly, my goal is to empower them. They can tell you, I don't get upset. I don't say, no, you were wrong. Everything is in your approach. And if they do make a mistake, it's not necessarily a mistake. It's a learning tool for you to do better next time. Because the next time you're faced with the situation, you would have remembered this experience and you would have done or tried to make a different decision, right? So, and that's one thing that I pride myself on, especially in how I lead, at my day-to-day workplace, because, I try to empower everyone. No one's a failure. We all have something that we're good at. We all have a strength and a skill. And what can I do as the I don't even call it a manager. What can I do as the leader to help foster that and help you grow that, so that when you grow in your career, you can go on to do, because basically my goal is to not just have all these people here and we're all just here and you do this every day. No. How can we help instill something more? If you want it, how do I help you go for it? And doing that is me trying to instill leadership skills in them as well. So you're hitting the nail on the head with everything as it relates to being able to basically change the language, like you said, to, an experienced person and their apprentice. How do you get there so you can do it too, versus me being only the one that's going to do it? No, it doesn't work.
And so making it more of a positive, supportive language.
Right.
Comments here talks about birth control pills given at younger ages.
Yes.
Of menstrual problems, and rather than understanding the causes, it's sort of like covering it over with the birth control pill, which maybe is the wrong way in so many cases. But again, it's like, well, even if someone gets pregnant young, it's like, oh, you want to hide it. We're not looking at human life as a beautiful thing.
Correct.
We're looking at it as shameful.
Correct. And that's what we need to try to get rid of, is the shame. The shame just causes so many problems. And the way you get rid of shame is to talk. We have to communicate. We have to bring awareness, you know, and no matter what, with anything in life, there's ebbs and there's flows, you know. So yeah, do we want to? Maybe not, you know, how do I want to say it? Maybe you don't want a teenage pregnancy because why? They're physically, their body probably isn't ready. Mentally, they're not all there yet, etc. However, if it happens, what do? Now let's make the best decision that we can going forward based on the situation that we have. But like you said, you go even before that. You know, what are some of the things that you talk to the youth about? What are some of the precautions to take? You know, if birth control does come up in the conversation, you know, is it birth control because of the discomfort with the menses or the acne issue, or do we need the birth control because maybe the child is the young adolescent is considering being sexually active? We have to talk about it. And I'm going to tell you, Dr. Kiltz, sex was a conversation that never happened in my family. It was, you don't talk about it. You can't really see two people kissing on the TV. We changed the channel. It's almost as though like it wasn't going to happen. And I think that that's not necessarily the best approach, because then people get curious, like, well, why can't I? And then they don't make the right decisions, I would say, you know, or the more empowered decisions. So we have to talk, even when they're young. We talk. Now there's levels to how you talk and how you say it, right, at the different levels, but you still get the conversations going.
Yeah, but ultimately, we begin our reproduction at 12, 13, and 14. That's natural. And so our bodies are ready, and our emotions maybe have been limited because it's such a controlling mindset of what you should and should not be, rather than the support of we're reproductive animals, and families are there in order to care for the young and to support everyone at all levels. Because in some way, if you thought about the opposite approach, again, have your children younger, get your college and your MD or whatever degrees later, which, you know, isn't but we don't support that.
Right.
So all the infertility happens even more, because you're more fertile in your teens and early 20s than your 30s and 40s, for sure. So, you know, it's all a crazy conundrum.
It is. And, you know, quite frankly, there's no real right or wrong answer. But just like you say, which I know you enjoy doing, I can tell, you know, those one-on-one interactions with your patients, you know, in the office, every one of your patients are different. You might have, you know, some of them might come in with the same overall issue, but whatever's underlining, you would approach and help them based on what you feel they need based on their individual situation, right? So everything is it's just about communicating and treating everything on an individual basis as much as possible. And the way you do that is to get the conversation going. Because once you start the conversations, right, then at that point you branch off. The conversations branch off. Oh, my part is this. Oh, I have this. I have that. But you have to get the conversations going so that people are comfortable enough to, you know, even talk about whatever it is.
So we don't typically support fertility care in America. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm. I agree, big time.
and at the same time, we're pushing women to take the birth control pill or do something to prevent pregnancy, which ultimately is still covering the causes, which we're not willing to talk about. And so social media is really the forefront of the conversation to help empower young women to take control of their bodies. And in essence, I mean, I hope I'm helping people conceive and deliver babies without ever coming to me through reduced inflammation, a more positive mindset. Again, taking control of your life and recognizing it's technically always there, but you've been fed the lie that you're incapable.
Right. Right. And, it's funny because I've always believed in both. I believe in the holistic approach and I believe in medicine. I feel that, because I know then religion plays into it, legislation, politics, this whole infertility thing and starting a family discussion, it just borders on all different types of areas, religion, politics, personal. And it's just a little tricky because I'm going to tell you that I don't feel that, I'm a Christian person. I believe in God, and I don't feel that God doesn't love my children any more or less than anybody else because I had them via IVF, right? Some people are lucky enough to to conceive naturally. Others have to take a different route, and that's where we have to be a little bit more open to all of the different options that are available, because I tried naturally for a long time too, but sometimes you just need help, So I really love your approach with, focusing on the mental, the diet. A lot of times you make those slight changes and boom, there it is. Not everything has to be invasive. Even with the IVF, there's different, like your clinic with the CNY, there's just different approaches, and we just have to be open to everything. There's no one right or wrong answer.
So the mindset that you share and the ideas of how you can approach this Western medical fertility treatment, whether it enabled you to do the work, even though it didn't happen naturally, it increased the chances you got to the advanced fertility care that eventually built your family. I mean, modern medicine is great. I'm all part of this. I support it completely.
Well, where's my hand? Here.
and I believe in, I'm a spiritual religious person. I focus on Christianity and the basic philosophy that all human beings are born and have the power to be part of the work of God. And we all can work that to help our community around the globe, because ultimately we're all the same.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think once we get away from, individualism as it relates to how we interact with each other, I think that will help a lot, because yes, we're all individuals, but all of us have some sort of say or some sort of interaction or some sort of connection to someone else. And I think one of the ways that we help to spread that is through communication, through being aware, through being compassionate, having empathy, and just, being there for one another. And I know it's easier said than done, but ideally, if you look at someone else as yourself, or not treat someone, that golden rule, treat other people how you would want to be treated, and don't treat other people how you wouldn't want to be treated, then at that point, it just helps. That way, when a conversation is happening and we're on different ends of the spectrum, we can agree to disagree. It doesn't have to lead to my way is better or your way is better. We're all trying to find an outcome, and we're all trying to get to that end result. And however we get there, as long as it wasn't through, us, offing each other or something, I don't know what the word is, then, we're good.
Yeah, I think that God is within all of us. We have to respect each other and support each other. That's what I think I've learned through my journey, and understanding how faith is really the foundation of all of it. It gives me the inspiration to keep going in all of this. And a helping hand is really, really important for everyone. So what are some haven't I asked you anything you wanted to ask, or something you wanted to say that I haven't brought out?
You know what? This was perfect. Very, nice, organic conversation, as I know we like. I think that we pretty much hit the nail on the head with everybody. I feel that there's no one right or wrong way to start a family. And your end result, whatever your family looks like, that's fine too, because, there's no textbook anything. Yes, we have textbooks, but everything doesn't necessarily end in a textbook way. So I just think that it's important to continue to bring awareness to infertility, bring awareness to miscarriage and all the other issues, fibroids, endometriosis, PCOS, so that people can seek help and know that there is resources or are resources out there to help them get through it physically and get through it emotionally. You know, it's okay to seek help. Therapy helped me a lot. My therapist was wonderful. I sought out acupuncture. Acupuncture helped me. I did yoga. Obviously, I had my IVF doctors. Just having the church and just having people that basically you feel understand and that you tap into the resources you need to help get you to where you need to be. And that's part of what I'm trying to do right now with my platform, just empowering people enough to share their stories, those that have gone through something, and those that are looking for help, empower you enough to go and seek out the help. And when you're looking for it, advocate for yourself. Ask those questions. Let your doctor and people know if you're not quite comfortable with something. And, we all have that gut feeling, that intuition. Trust it. There's nothing wrong with that. You matter, your story matters, and what you're trying to do matters. So we all have to know that so that we can move forward accordingly.
Well, I think the important part, I encourage all of my patients that if you're not comfortable with something, say something. If something's missing, say something. If you're not sure, say something. Don't be afraid to say something. But all of us, some reason, are all afraid to say something.
I know.
It's our nature in some way. But let's see. The name of your book is It'll Happen by 30, A Relentless Journey of Faith, Delayed but Not Denied. And where can people find it?
Yes. You can find the book on Amazon. The book is available on Amazon. It's also on Barnes & Noble. And it's also on my website. Dr. Kiltz, I'll send you the link to my Linktree. It's Linktree/MC Duroseau, M like Mary, C like cat, and Duroseau, my last name. So definitely we can get it there. It's also in store at Books and Books, the different Books and Books locations in South Florida, and Barnes & Noble as well. So, and Little Haiti, there's one of the first founding bookstores by one of the founders of Little Haiti. It's called Librairie Mapu. The book is available there as well. So, but the best way to reach me, Instagram, It'll Happen Book, and my Linktree, and whatever you need, I can help you. If I can't, I'll get you to the right people, and then we'll take it from there.
And listening, watching, reading is empowering to the mind, to teach something new, to grow with something new and different, where it'll be more magical in so many ways.
Absolutely. Right. I look forward to working more with you. You're fantastic. It was a pleasure meeting you. I love your energy. Keep doing what you're doing and helping your patients. And you are inspiring me to be more of a presence on social media, because it's a lot to keep up with, but it's very beneficial in the end. So thank you for that.
I always say a little bit at a time is all you need.
Yes.
You don't need too much. It's sort of just, I would just a little bit. It just continues to fertilize the mission, and it happens when and how it's meant to happen. But you got to get up. You got to get up and do something. I always say so.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you so much. Enjoy your day. Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, that was really, really wonderful. Thank you, everyone, for stopping in for a little bit. Marline Duroseau, she's just an amazing energy, sharing a great. Go to her website. We'll put a link for everyone to find this. And I'm sorry I didn't get to all the questions today. You can always reach me at 315-416-9872 or rkiltz@cnyfertility.com. I'll be glad to help get you in, get your questions answered, send them to someone that can help you. All the diseases we've been suffering from are secondary to what I believe is we're not focused on what the dream we wish to have. We've forgotten that our natural nutrition is fatty meat. Move as much as you can the plants, and you got to get moving and doing something, even though it's hard. That's okay. All right. God bless everyone. Have a good one. We'll see you later. Take care. See you tomorrow morning at 5 live.